Hey there, welcome to Ems and Friends. I'm a qualified therapist and everything in these videos is based upon my own personal or professional opinion and sourced from the public domain under the Fair Use and Fair Dealings guideline. Thank you for watching. So how are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I've chopped a nerve in my back, which isn't the reason why I'm kind of like talking to you, really. But
Oh
I
no.
know initially when you started, we were talking about subjects that you could actually talk about, and I've lived in chronic pain now for since about 2007,
Oh,
and it's yeah, not with my back. Like my bile duct doesn't function properly, and you wouldn't think that something the size of a paperclip could have robbed me of my sparkle and my spontaneous nature and my
bless you.
ability to work and my reliability and things like that, So I think I think chronic pain is something that's quite hidden for a lot of people, particularly when people just, when you like I said to you, I've trapped a nerve in my back, which I know will pass. Okay, so I'm okay with that, and I'm a lot happier to go to bed for a few hours with a trapped nerve, but I struggle with this on a daily basis, and I hate to have to give into it. That's the thing, and I think a lot of people who live with it constantly don't want to do that. There's two camps. There's probably people who will put themselves to bed and let the world revolve around them and things like that, and then there's people who don't want to do it. And I think this is not a comment about domestic violence that I'm going to make here, right? But I would say it's the biggest relationship in my life, and
Right.
it is like having an abusive partner, right? Because if I've got the hump with my husband, I can just go walk in the park for an hour.
Yeah.
But if I've got my chronic pain, I have to take it with me. Yeah, it doesn't want me to go to the theatre. It doesn't want me to go and see my family without it. It doesn't want me to go to work without it being there. That kind of thing. So it's a very dominant relationship, and that's not a. Thankfully, I've never experienced domestic violence in my life. I never saw it with my mum and dad. I've never had it in my two marriages either. So, but it is like an abuse because it never goes away. It
I think
never
it's a
goes
great
away.
analogy, actually. I think it's a great analogy in a way to compare it to something that's tangible. And I think, like you say, it's you have no choice in that sense. It's like it's
Mm.
with you, whether you want it or not. It's like you say, you carry that with you, and it controls. It's a controlling, in a sense, a controlling partner in a way, isn't it?
It is.
Relationship, because
It is.
everywhere you go, it controls every aspect of your life.
It is. And if this was a boyfriend or a husband, I would have left him.
Mm,
I would have left him. You
yeah.
know. But you can't leave chronic pain, and there's no pill for it or anything like that. So over the last few months, the pain management people, because I'm at that point now where I've got to manage it. I've
Yeah.
got this condition and I've got to manage it. So the pain management people have put me on a course of talking to a therapist, and it's made such a difference.
See?
Because for the first time, somebody's asked me how I feel about it,
Yeah.
right? Someone who doesn't love me, who doesn't is not involved in
No
watching my.
bias. There's no bias.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things to talk about with him, and my husband's great, and our daughter, she's 22 and she's great, but um, but they love me, and they watch me struggle,
Mm.
and it's really hard when my husband trapped a nerve in his back or something, and I was in his neck, and I was helping him, I said to him, "Oh," I said, "it just makes me so sad to see you like this." And he said to me, and he's got a broad Scouse accent, my husband, right? And Scousers can be king of the real world alert, can't
Yeah.
they?
Yes.
And he said, we're very quiet, and he said, "You know what you're feeling now?" And I went, "Yeah." And he said, "Multiply that by 1,000. You're not even anywhere near how I feel about watching you on a daily basis." And you want to go, because my husband is wonderful, but he's not the sort of man to bring a bunch of flowers.
Mm.
He's going to come out with some sucky comment, but I just thought, oh, you're a keeper.
Yeah. He
You know?
shows his love in different ways. Different
Yeah,
ways.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
what? Yeah. And I suppose for you, that realization, I guess, of that this is what he sees and he experiences every single day with watching the person he loves go through pain.
Yeah. I do an admin on a page that has the same condition, because it's called sphincter of oddi dysfunction. All right.
Oh wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, S.O.D for short, actually, which is a perfectly apt name for it, I think.
Sod off is probably what you'd more likely want to say.
Yeah. And it is something that's quite badly misdiagnosed, and it quite often is quite a female condition as well, actually, and it does actually tend to be people who've had their gallbladder out.
Right.
So that there can be a connection to that. Quite, not always, but there can quite often be a connection to that. So because you end up with things like blocked cystic ducts, and the gallbladder might not have been taken out properly, and they leave bits behind, and or otherwise, and it affects your liver and your pancreas and things like that. So anything you eat will set it off. Any stress will set it off. Just it being a Thursday will set it off. So it's a bit of a struggle, yeah, and it makes people sick and things like that. So yeah, it's not an easy one to live with, to be honest.
Does it get progressively worse, or is it something that's just the same kind of, that's you've got it and it's the same all the way through?
It does get worse. It will flare up and mean putting you in hospital for a few days and things like that. You know, yeah. So it's a hard one. It's a hard one. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Sorry.
No. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I am by nature a coper. Do you know what I mean? I am a coper, and I think. But it's beating me. It's you know, I'm not ashamed to admit it. It does beat me. I've got a very high pain threshold, but it's beating me. It's just you know.
Are you? I mean, just want to say, are you okay as you are now? Because I mean, I do appreciate. I certainly don't want you to be sitting there in pain.
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish, you know. It's difficult because obviously when I work with people and I talk to people, one of the hardest things I think is when I see the struggle, and I see, like, I can even hear it. I don't know you, but I can certainly see in your face. I can certainly hear in your voice that even now it's like it's there. It's you struggle, and I imagine this is like every single day. Sometimes there's no let up, but it's the fact that it's just a case of sometimes it's better than not, you know. It's always there, you know. And I'd imagine also as well the worry and the preempting of, okay, I feel slightly a bit better, but what's it going to be in the next hour? You know, it's like difficult to plan things, I imagine, as well for you.
Very much so, yeah, very much so. You know, I miss my daughter's first day at Cambridge, you know, when the parents take her. I mean, Cambridge, she went to Cambridge, you know, like, and you just have to miss it, or you have to say, I'm just going to go back to the car for a bit. And it's not a good one.
Is it incurable? Is there any cure? Is there?
Yeah, well, they've not found one yet. That's not. I live in hope. It's not terminal. It's not going to kill me, but or anything like that. But it is one that.
It's debilitating.
Yeah, it is.
It's not a quality of life that you want. You know, so it's harder. I think for some, in a sense, it must be for the fact that you can't, like, say you can't. Your brain wants you to do those things and can believe it can still do those things, but your body says no.
Yeah, and of course, you know, like, I mean, I'm nearer 60 than 50 as well, and you kind of think, well, you know, like, in my mind, I'm still 23. You know,
we don't look 60, nearly 60, I have to say.
Well, 57. I'm 57.
Well, say, lady, you look lovely.
Yeah. Is it clean?
I know you don't probably feel it, but you do.
Thank you. Bless your heart. Thank you.
Do not look it, and I wouldn't say that. I'd rather say nothing than lie. So you definitely don't. So you know.
I mean, I think I've always been one of those people that counted my blessings. You know, try and look at what you have and what you don't have.
Sure.
You know, and I think maybe that's put me in quite good stead for having something like this now, and I sometimes feel quite sad that maybe we're not raising our kids to be copers, or does the world not let them be copers, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both, if I'm truly honest. I've certainly seen definitely a rise in I want to say a more narcissistic world. I definitely think there's a more narcissistic world now. And I definitely think there's an more entitled world now where it's instantaneous gratification. If it's not happening now, don't want to work for it, don't want to, wait for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's sad. It's going to breed a new generation of people, like you say, because even I can, my mum and dad are grafters. It's like, that I come from that. Even I am, and I've raised my kids to be, and I think it's a bit worrying, really, that's kind of what is the generational as it progresses. Is it going to get progressively worse, or are we going to kind of come full circle and hopefully not? I don't know. I don't know.
We have my husband's a photographer, right? So it's amazing how people will take pictures when they say, well, can you make me thinner? Can you make me this? And, thinking that you can do everything in Photoshop rather than putting the work in to make yourself look better or feel better, or like you said, it's instant gratification and expecting somebody else to do it for you,
And there lies the danger of, I guess, of social media, where everything becomes online. And I think that's the worry and scary thing with the younger generation. And I think it's not necessarily, whereas we sort of think we just women or young women, it's young men are kind of, can you turn it into a six pack? Can you make me kind of look a bit different? Or, and I think why are we not working on our youngsters? And this is where I do believe therapy in school would be amazing, to work on confidence, to embrace who you are as a person, no matter whether you've got freckles or lumps and bumps here and there, or whatever it is, which is why, in a sense, why I wanted to create, I guess, the bubble family, in a sense, is because I wanted, and I've just done the Facebook group, and I don't know if you've seen that online. I've just created, if you're on Facebook, that is, not everyone is. It's the bubble community, and it's for women to basically go in there and hopefully lift each other up and support each other. And if you're feeling a bit low or a bit down, or to go in this little group and have other women kind of go, I'm here for you, and and you're not doing this alone, and just accept just be accepting of who you are. And I think we could all do with a bit more of that, I believe. I hope, anyway. I hope it works.
But don't you think sometimes that women can be the hardest critics of women?
Yeah. yeah. I've certainly gone through that. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. And it's like, where has sisterhood gone?
Yeah.
Literally taken a vacation somewhere. Because
did you expect to get that kind of abuse from women? You didn't, did you?
No. I mean, I've had fallings out with friends when I was younger, and or a friendship has run its course and you've just kind of gone your own separate ways.
Yeah.
But to this level, and not only just what was started, but how it's been continued by, I for the most part, what it looks like, other women. I've kind of jumped on this bandwagon. Yeah, I mean, I've had, again, profiles, you don't know who they are behind the profile, but a lot of the time, but it would seem predominantly, a couple of men have come across, but predominantly, women. And that's quite sad.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's cruel. Do you know, I had a comment once years ago, I worked for a ballet company years ago. This is getting off the subject of pain and things, though, isn't it?
That's okay. This is about whatever.
Yeah. I worked for a ballet company years ago as the stage manager. And of course, like dancers are very tiny, because particularly classical dancers, very, very tiny. And I would say I'm a naturally a 14. That would be my natural place to be, I suppose. And I remember kind of talking to a couple of the dancers, saying I could really do with losing a few pounds. And this girl looked at me and she said, do you realise, because I was the only woman on the crew, okay, and she said, do you realise that how much we envy you? And I went, she said, because you're the only one of us that looks like a woman. And you go,
wow.
Everyone kind of thinks about what a dancer, that great physique, and that that is a body that's had work put into it, don't get me wrong. And but that really stunned me. I never ever thought that being a normal size would make someone like a dancer feel jealous.
Yeah, I
It's a
never.
brutal world.
I think,
It's a
yeah,
brutal world.
yeah, I never would have kind of, and I think again that we have those assumptions, don't we, of what we would like. For example, I would be probably similar to you. I would look at a dancer and think, oh my gosh, she looks amazing. She's worked really hard to kind of get where she is.
Mm.
So then to have someone that you would look at and kind of go, wow, for them to kind of go, do you know, I envy you. It's, until you have those conversations, you really don't know. And this is what when I work with clients, I try and say, talk to somebody, because you don't know what goes on in someone's, in their story, what goes on behind closed doors,
Yeah.
because you can look at someone and create an assumption. But you really, really don't know what goes on. And so I've often worked on myself, I guess, to the point where I don't have envy of women. I never really have, to be honest, in a sense. But I'm realistic, and I have down days and bad days, and I can certainly go out and look at someone and think, oh, her hair looks lovely. Oh my God, or she looks stunning, or, oh, I wish I had her figure. I'm not, infallible, and I certainly haven't not had those moments when I felt insecure about myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's never to a point that some can go to where it becomes like it crosses over into nastiness or, kind of malicious. But because obviously I briefly touched on it, but I got diagnosed in 2010 with my condition, and it's degenerative. So I understand about the pain aspect. It's not chronic, but I still live with it. It's like it's like I have like a burning cramp in my legs. That's the only way I can kind of explain it. So sometimes it's manageable. It's always there. It never goes, but it's always there. So when I was first diagnosed, it didn't really show apart from internally. But then over the years, it's got progressively worse. And so my body has changed, and it's changed shape. And now it's become, I guess, a point where now I look at myself and I have those real insecurities now. And even though my rational brain can understand and can think, well, you're ill, it's an illness. It's, it's not that you just sat and ate cream cakes all day. And I mean, if that's what someone wants to do, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what they choose to do, I wouldn't say it's the healthiest choice, but again, it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's become, but then my rational brain doesn't always kick in. And so I have more and more, I guess, sometimes of those moments where I feel envious. I feel like I wish I could, because a bit like yourself, I can't do the things that I used to be able to do. I'm very independent. I've always looked after myself. I've always been just like a strong person that can kind of do things. And so to suddenly not be able to do that now, to not be able to do the things that I've always kind of been able to do, it's tough, and you don't want, like, say, you don't want to go on about it. You don't want to moan about it, and you don't want to kind of give into it. But sometimes you just go, today I'm just going to, because I'm just not feeling great, and I just want to cry, and I just want to just give into it.
I know. Yeah, I can relate to that. I think the greatest thing I have helped, because I think I've got to the point now where I'm quite happy to accept the problems with it. I mean, listen, I've never been like Doris Day. I'm never going to bake and chits and curtains, and that was never going to happen. And like, it's quite fortunate that you can only see like behind my head here with this photo, because all around me, I'm in my husband's office, and all around me is all his camera gear, and like the place is just gone to seed, and it's everyone's fed and everyone's ironed and we're warm, but like
isn't that really what matters in the great scheme of things?
So I'm at that point now where I'm starting to work with it. I don't know if you get to be the same way. I don't want to give into it. Like the greatest thing I think I've done to help with my pain problem on a daily basis is to get a slow cooker. Oh my God.
They are great. Slow cookers are great. They are my best friend. I love my slow cooker.
Yeah. I mean, my husband said, well, so we were doing one of those Mr. and Mrs. quizzes, do you know what I mean? And the question came up for him, what's your favourite smell on Beverly, right? Well, my husband's a chemist. He doesn't do perfume. He's not into perfume
Right.
or any of those kinds of things, right? Chemist by training. And he said, when I come in after a long day and there's a chicken casserole in the slow cooker, I mean, that's a bit of a backhanded compliment, but I thought, it's like I said, it's the
In a way, that could be, my wife smells of chicken casserole and I love it.
yeah, there you go. But let's not be under illusions. We can all pretend that we have new men and new women and all that, but ultimately, when they come through the door and you've cooked them a stew, they love it, don't they?
Oh, you know what? But I think they say to a way to a man's heart is through his stomach, and obviously, clearly, he likes the chicken casserole that you make, and yeah. I think, I'd be lost about my slow cooker. I really would. It's just, especially when I'm working long days, I literally bung everything in, as I'm working, I can just smell the food cooking, and I'm just like, oh my God, I cannot wait to finish work. And I'm literally, because one of my biggest things is comfort food, and stew or casserole with some mashed potato is kind of like
the best.
It's just the best food ever.
Just the best.
It's like, this is how sad my life has become. I actually look forward to stew and mashed potato.
Yeah.
I don't do much else, but that's what I look forward to.
Yeah. And I like that you talk about things like this that actually kind of hit real people,
Yeah.
And not talk to people and because I'm sure with you being a counsellor, like you said, that I made an analogy about being with an abusive partner to be the pain, and I think that's when I actually kind of voiced that out loud, that was such a release. Such a release,
Absolutely.
because she asked me, my therapist asked me, if it was a person, who would it be, and I don't know if she meant, would it be, David Attenborough or whatever, whoever it is you would, but when I thought I would imagine an abusive partner to be like, it would be like a husband that won't let you go anywhere, or a wife that won't let you breathe because she's jealous about everything, and always has to know what your business was. And I really felt that was such a relief then to actually say that out loud. And I think that was a real turning point for me to actually say, okay, so how are you going to deal with it now?
Yeah, and how amazing. And I think the fact that you've given yourself that, and to me, the way I work when I was working with any clients, it's what works for you. It's not that as a therapist, and I'm sure your therapist will say the same. It's not that we've got all the answers, but the way we facilitate your journey is that you will then come to those realizations, and that awareness for you, and that realization of actually this is how I can imagine this to be is like what you've just said, and to have that kind of moment where it feels like an epiphany moment of, oh wow, and if it's helped you,
I do have the advantage to know that this creature is not gonna hurt me, but that mentality about it, I think, is it was actually quite empowering to actually give it a personality.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ogre in the room, isn't it? It's and to kind of, and like for me, it's like when I work with clients, it's like that when they have like the negative voice, or they have something that's hindering them or creating them to feel low, it's I get them to give that voice a name, because and when they do that, it's like you can communicate with it almost, like instead of just kind of letting it envelope you, it's kind of like you can take it outside and kind of go, right, okay. And it might seem like you sound like you're schizophrenic at times because you're having a conversation with yourself, but it does help to do that, to kind of externalize it and kind of go, right, you are my pain, you are my bully, you are all of these things. And even though you're part of me right now, I still want to make sure that I know who I am, and this is outside of me, even though it's happening to me. And I think it can be a very powerful tool to realize that you can work with that, and then accept that this is happening, because at the moment it is for you, and accept it. Know that to some degree, you can have that realization, and you've come to that. And that gives you strength.
You have to. I think when you're dealing with something like pain or an illness or something like that, and again, I was talking to the therapist about this yesterday, and she said she said the reason it was that she felt that I'd come quite a way, and she said I could, because I've been talking to her since February, I suppose, every month or so.
Yeah.
And she said the reason that I can see that you've come quite a way is because you come from a place of yes, right? So if she says to me, well, how about if you meditate? And you go, no, it doesn't work. Or you said, well, how about if you go for a walk with the dog? No, it doesn't work. You know, so instead of just saying, well, I've tried meditating, it's not quite worked, but can you give me some breathing exercises? Can you tell me how to do it? And the reason Ems, I know, and I thank the Lord every day that I've been blessed with really healthy and very good mental health, okay? But I knew with this, I was off. I knew I was off, and I needed somebody to help me and put me back on that path again.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I had an abscess, I'd go and have it dealt with before it got too bad. If I had a toothache, I would go before it got too bad. So I knew I needed to talk to someone. Unfortunately, because I'm on a pain management program anyway, I was able to see a psychologist within the pain management department, you know.
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
So, and I don't think there's any word of a lie. It saved my sanity because I hadn't let myself get too far. And I appreciate that a lot of people, particularly when they're in pain, just let it get so far. And you just feel, you just get yourself in a dark place with, and there's so many other things that go on with it if you can't work. You know, you debt, you know, that can run up and things like that. You know, like I said, we're like poor as church mice, but we can open our door to anybody because we just, maybe it goes back to us being, you know, from a working class family, or if you didn't have the cash, you didn't have it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's kind of like how it is. And, you know, and I have to say that although I was entitled to some government benefit, it took us an awful long time to actually go and get it because we just thought, well, I'm going to live on my savings, because I honestly thought I was going to go back to work at some point.
Yeah.
So actually having that realization that you're not going to go back to work because you're unreliable, and I hate to have to admit that I'm unreliable, you know, because bosses have businesses to run. They need to know where they are, you know, and I think once I made that decision, I can't do this. I can't go back to work, because at the time when I got poorly, I was working as a veterinary nurse. And of course, you need to be quick, you need to be strong, you need to be fast, you need to think on your feet and those kinds of stuff. And I was unreliable, and my boss couldn't rely on that. He couldn't rely on me holding a dog that I might go and it go gone. That's just not going to work for him, is it? So they kept my job open for me for a long time, and I just had to accept that I wasn't going back. And in some ways, once you can accept how your life has moved on and the situations things put your life in, well, now how am I going to do this to get some kind of nice things back into my life? And I think once I actually realised that, and I gave it a personality, and it's been a bit easier to deal with over the last few months. It's not got any less.
No.
But here it has, and I think that's why when you asked about subjects, I thought I reached out to you, because I was right in the middle of it at that point when I initially emailed you.
Yeah.
And so you've probably come at quite a good time to see me not as bad as it was, you know, coming out of that journey maybe.
But I think that will also help other people. I'm hoping that people that watch this, because I mean, as long as you're okay, that it will go up on the channel. And I hope that people watching this will see your journey and see that, you know, you've gone from that to this, and you're the way you've kind of really struggled, but then you found a way to cope. And also, I'm really glad to hear that you are speaking to somebody, and how invaluable that can be for perhaps somebody else that feels they're at that pinnacle point when they just know they need something, and maybe that is the answer of going and finding somebody to speak to, because I think it's given you that voice as well to be able to go and have that moment where you're talking about you and what you're going through, and then having some clarification, because the answers are all within you, you know, and I say this to everybody, they're all there. It's just sometimes they get jumbled up with conditioning, they get jumbled up with life and family, work, society, and also second guessing. You know, sometimes you don't trust your sense of self and you don't trust what you're saying, and you think, well, I know I want to do that, but should I do that, or should I say that? Or and having someone else kind of go, yeah, you can. It's
Yeah.
okay to feel like that. It's okay to
Yeah.
say that. You're not
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And I think it, like I said, it's very helpful, not burden is not the right word, because my husband wants to know how my day is and how my struggle is. And there's no one I trust more on earth than him. But I see how hard it is for him to watch me do it. You know, I see how hard it is. And, you know, the times he's had to change his work round because I've been in hospital and things like that. And it's just, so and I think this is the part I get quite emotional, when you actually watch those people that you love watching you struggle, and they can't, you know, my husband knows there's nothing he can do about it. He said, and that's what he finds hard. You know, my dad said the same thing, God love him, when he was alive. You know, he said, I'm your dad and I can't put it right. And I go, well, I don't expect you to. And he go, but I'm your dad and I can't put it right. And you know, bless him, he went to his grave wishing he could have put it right. You know, he didn't, but, you know, he couldn't. And I'm not saying he should. So no, I think what I would say is, if anybody is on a pain management program, thinking that it's just about doing certain exercises and taking opiates and all that kind of stuff, you can actually talk to your pain management people, and they will hopefully find someone for you to speak to as well, because they do realise how important that is in the process. Yeah, to be honest, 100%. That somebody actually asks you for the first time how you feel about it. Yeah. And you haven't got to hold it back, and, you know, from your family and things like that. Because you spare them. You do spare them. I think
that's exactly right. You know, like you say, even though you know that they're there for you, there is a little bit of censorship that goes on, because you don't want to sometimes, like you say, almost burden them, even though that you know they're not a burden. But I think at times you possibly feel like that. It's like, oh, you know, I'm talking about this again and I'm in pain again. And even though you can't help it, and it is, you know, none of it is your fault, but you love them and you care about them, so you don't want to keep having to say the same thing. So having an avenue to go and speak to somebody else that you can really offload to, it means then that you just can then give your family just that little bare minimum of, well, this is kind of what's going on for me, but you're not, you know, you feel better because you're not censoring also. You know, like sometimes it could be incredibly bad, but you don't want to tell them, so you're then telling someone else, because they're non-biased and they are there for you. That's what they are there for. You know, that's their job, and it helps. And clearly, like you said, it's helped you.
Yeah, I know. And I know, like, for example, in the last few months, I've lost 2 stone in weight. Okay. And I said to my husband, you know, those times when you kind of like, no, you're putting them on the spot. And I said to him, can you see it then? And he said, you know, you get that panic comes over.
Dear, caught in the headlights. What can I say? What can I say? I've got to say it right.
Yeah. Deer in the headlights at Ems. I love that look on a man. That's my favourite look on a man. You know, when they go,
you can almost just see the brain kind of going, oh.
Yeah. But he made a valid point. He said, well, I see you all the time.
Yeah.
You know, he works from home, and I'm at home all the time. So he said, and I thought, oh, good answer.
Yeah.
But it is an honest answer. Okay. However, and my condition could turn on a sixpence. Like, we're sitting here chatting quite freely now. In an hour, I could be in a hell of a state. I'm not saying I will be, but I could be, and it can turn that quickly. Yeah, he can walk in a room and there's a look in my eyes, and he will know that. Just, he's that familiar that he will see it, but couldn't see that I lost 2 stone. But I understand that, you know. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, 100%. The thing is like you say, he looks at, I think the thing is that when men, especially when men that love you, they look at you with different eyes to how we view ourselves, and possibly even how women view us. You know, like your best friend who's possibly a woman, they possibly can go, yeah, no, I can see it. You look amazing. You know, you looked amazing before, but you look, you know, amazing now. But I see it. You know, but men, it's like when you get your hair done and you're just like, what do you think? And they're just like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
And you're like, I got my hair done. It looks so different from what it was before. It's like what? You know,
Yeah.
it's like they, I don't know, it's like they just do not see, because he sees past the superficial. He loves you, so he sees all of you in it, and it's like he just sees this you know, so it's like he
Yeah.
doesn't notice the slight difference of physicality. It's, you know, you're his wife, he loves you, and you know, and the fact that, but then like you say, in the most important things, with the fact that you're in pain, and he can see in that moment in your eyes that you're struggling, and he knows how to help you in that moment, or to be there for you. That's how
Yeah.
he shows his love for you. And I think that's true love. That's really what it's about. You know, that companionship, you're a team, you know, and that's wonderful. And I'm glad that you have someone like that, especially because you're going through this as well.
Yeah, I always feel blessed, you know, when I see other people who don't have something like that. And there's a lot of people that don't, that
Yeah,
even
yeah.
that are in marriages and long-term relationships and things, and they don't have it. And you know, sometimes a crowded room can be the most loneliest place to be, can't it?
Yeah,
So
very, very true. And that's why I think it's important to work on yourself, so you become your own best friend. So, you know, when you are perhaps on your own, or you've come out of a relationship, you're not lonely, because you can fulfill yourself in so many different ways, whether it be hobbies, friends, job, or you know, you don't necessarily feel that you've got to bunny hop into another relationship to find that hole that's missing, because ultimately it comes from you. And
mhm.
usually then, when you're least expecting it, that person comes along, and you know, man or woman, you know, and it becomes, because it's a foundation, right? To me, it's a relationship needs to be a friendship. It should be a foundation, a strong, solid. You wouldn't build a house on a rocky foundation, so why build a, you know, a relationship on that? And then, testament to you, the fact that you've got that friendship, you've got that foundation, and it's solid. I mean, how long have you guys been together?
It's about 19 years now. It's
Wow.
the second time for both of us. Yeah. So
I mean, that's,
yeah,
you know, that says it all, really. 19 years, and I'm assuming he's like your best friend.
yeah, yeah. King of the real world alert, though. You know. So yeah. And his
Yeah, he
daughter's
may
in.
not be the most romantic, but like I say, he pulls it together
Yeah.
when he really needs to. So one of the questions I actually wanted to ask you as well is lockdown. How did you cope in lockdown?
Um, well, I was at home anyway, and my husband works from home anyway. So in a actual everyday circumstance, that didn't change a great deal. But
Hmm.
what did change was your access to get yourself seen to, if
Yeah,
you needed
yeah,
to be seen to. I try and prevent going into A&E as much as possible, but there does come a time when you get quite dehydrated because you're being sick and things like that, and you actually need to go, and you need something through a line to get the pain down and things like that. So that really wasn't open to a lot of people
yeah.
until you were actually in a really quite poor state. And but yeah, I think I only went to hospital once during the lockdown because of that, and it was just, I mean, they were so busy, bless their hearts anyway, you know, in our local hospital, that, you know, they just literally patched you up and send you out. Sometimes they would admit you for a couple of days on a line to get some pain down and things like that, but they just didn't have that facility this time. So you did feel you were a bit more on your own,
Yeah, sure.
and you just didn't have that backup of through no one's fault, really, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't think I've had one over the phone consultation with my consultant, and I have to go an hour and a half for a consultant that knows anything about
Oh,
sphincter body.
really?
I live between, I live near Lincoln, okay,
Right,
sort of
okay.
Gainsborough, which is quite near to Lincoln, and I have to travel to Hull, which is an hour and a half away to find a consultant that knows anything about it. And before she actually took up her position, I had to travel down to London for it. So if you've got a really bad condition, you can be patched up in a local hospital, but if you need to see a consultant, I had to go to London
So you
for
need to
it.
see someone that's like a specialist, considering, yeah, the
Yeah,
travel
yeah,
to. Oh,
yeah.
wow. So that must have been quite difficult then, with everything that was going on. That must have been quite hard for you to be able to even access that, surely.
I mean, as I said, I had one over the phone consult with it, and I'm quite lucky with the consultant because she does accept that, because some gastros and pancreatic people don't accept that the condition exists, and then others do.
Oh, really?
So if you're not lucky enough to be taken into a hospital that doesn't have a gastro that even believes it happens, then they'll just say, oh, it's irritable bowel, and it's not an irritable bowel at all. It's too high for that, because it's just underneath. For most people, it's underneath the right breast, and it radiates through to the back. So you've got the whole of this part of your body is the bit that's in pain, really. Oh, so it's just slightly under your right breast, usually.
Yeah.
Some people it's slightly on the left, but so it's been, it's, I mean, obviously my husband couldn't work or anything like that because, as I said, he's a photographer, and we do mostly things like theatre work and newborns, and there was nobody wants you around their newborn, at that point, and there was no shows, things like that, so nothing to photograph. And then, of course, when people start
now,
it's starting to pick up now, because obviously people cases have started to go up again. So people don't really want you so much in their home if you're photographing the children or anything like that. We don't do that many weddings, to be honest. But and also people have put on a lot of weight. So why would people pay? And also you've got things like for a while you could only have one photographer and one model, or one person, you could only photograph one person, so that means you couldn't do group shots, you couldn't have a chaperone, all those kinds of stuff that models like to have, or photographers like to have. So it'll surely pick up.
Well, fingers crossed it does start to pick up and starts to I mean, I think we're in this for a little while longer, like you say, because cases seem to be going up in certain places and things seem to be kind of all over the place again. So I'm just hoping that things start to level out at some point. So people that, I mean, even for myself, I've not been able to have people in my home. Everything is online. Since this started, I haven't gone back to the way I've done it before, and I don't know if it will go back. I really don't know. More and more people are getting more accustomed to being online now.
But it's got to be better than nothing, though, hasn't it?
To be able to 100%. Or to be fair, I wouldn't have done the channel. The channel wouldn't have been created if it wasn't for this, because it was because of what happened, and I lost clients because everyone panicked, and which I can absolutely understand. Financially they struggled, and so of course it started dropping off, and I just sat there kind of twiddling my thumbs, and I was like, this is crazy. There must be a way for me to be able to help people, and because obviously not everyone wants to go online, and I just sat and thought about it, and I kind of was not sure, and then obviously the person that we've spoken about, she was talking about eating disorders, and I saw it on Twitter, and so I contacted her and said, I'm a therapist and I know quite a bit about eating disorders, do you want to chat about it? We did, and then I kind of said, actually I'd really love to find a way of being able to do this, because I said I could either come on your channel, and she said, well, what about, have you ever thought about doing your own, channel? And I said, well, no. I said, I don't know anything about YouTube. And she said, well, why don't we look and doing it together? And I know about YouTube and I can help you. And so that was how it was born. It was like how our friendship become and how it was born. And in a way, without lockdown, the channel would never have happened. So it's crazy how, things are the way they are. And I would not, and I do not ever regret the channel. It's like I love doing what I do. I love the fact that I'm able to connect with people. I've spoken to the most amazing people when doing these hour phone calls, like speaking to you today, and creating just this community of different people. And I've read the most fascinating but heartbreaking stories, and I love it. I absolutely love it, and I think probably till the day I die, I will be doing the channel, unless well, YouTube goes down, and then I have to find another way. But yeah, so in a way, it's crazy how a silver lining has come out of something that's really been quite devastating for so many people.
Yeah, I think if you manage to kind of like get through to just one person, it's going to be worth it.
And that's what I said in the very beginning. That's so strange that you say that. I said, because I was talking to my sons about it, and I said, you know what? If I can help just one person, it's worth to help change the trajectory in someone else's life. It's worth everything. And I think if I'm hoping that I've actually managed to do that more than one, help them tap into their inner strength and not, feel so alone in life, and, and stuff like that. And like saying, even along the way, it's helped me too. So, it's like I've been inspired by so many people, and it's just been lovely. And so I would
truly amazing people out there, isn't there?
I mean, I'm not talking about. Yeah, this sort of thing shows you.
Not talking about big famous people, or no. Some of those are amazing as well. But I'm talking about your everyday Joe that just gets on with what they've got to get on with, and does some amazing things under the radar. And I think that's just
it's inspiring. That's why it become M's and Friends, because I thought I actually want to like doing this today with you. It's like giving a voice to people that can tell their story. You will be inspirational to somebody out there. Somebody is going to be watching this, and they're going to see what you've gone through, and they're going to be inspired, and they're perhaps going to go and get therapy, or perhaps they're going to sort their pain, hopefully, maybe get their pain sorted out so it's more manageable, or, anything, you're going to help. And it's like paying it forward. It's like, we don't know who we affect and change, and it's these little moments that will be really inspiring, and I think that's what the channel is about. It's giving that voice to us common folk who perhaps would never have a platform to talk about what's gone on for them, and maybe support and help other people.
I've become quite passionate about pain management, I think, actually, because it is a realistic thing that you have to do for yourself. And it's like, I don't know, it's like going on a diet or joining the gym. It's a part of a process, and it's hard work, and there's no quick fix to it. And I think that's just how it is. And so I've also set my story to a charity called Guts UK that deal with the digestive system, things in the digestive system. So they're kind of going to feature about the sphincter of oddi problem, probably in their spring magazine and whatnot, which is really nice to know. At the moment, they're just dealing with gallbladder problems and gallbladder removal. So to do SOD in the spring would be quite a natural progression for it, I think. So I think at the point where I can't work as a stage manager anymore, I can't work as a veterinary nurse anymore. So this might be something that's quite useful.
Yeah, definitely raising awareness to a condition, an illness that is not really spoken about. I mean, I'd never heard. I mean, not that I maybe I wouldn't have heard of it, but I've never heard of it. So I think, I'm guaranteeing you, I bet there'll be at least one person that comes on in those comments and goes, I've got that, because, people just, they just don't know, and they probably don't realize that, that that's probably more people out there that have got it than they realize, or, and they don't talk about it. So I think, if you can raise, and I'll help you in any way. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. And, even this video, if this raises awareness to this, then it's a good thing.
That's good to know. Well, if there is anyone who's got it or think they have got it, then there is a Sphincter of Oddi UK page on Facebook, which is really, and I can guarantee there'll be somebody awake at all times, because somebody is always struggling with it in the middle of the night and things like that. So,
okay, great.
And I said it is there are a few men who do suffer from it. It is more a female condition, but there are husbands and adult kids of people who suffer with it who are on the page who just want to know how they can help. And I think mostly, like my husband would say, you there isn't actually anything you can do when somebody has got it. But just be prepared that you might need to take them to the hospital. Be prepared to know that you might need to take over the house and the kids for a few days and things like that. And I think for a lot of people, that really is all we're asking. Just take that pressure off us and just let us go and do what we have to do. And then, just let it pass, because that, I know my husband is at that point where he feels that's what his job is when I'm in attack. And that's fine. That's fine. And that's good that he's got my back in that department. So.
Absolutely. We'll put everything in the description box below, and I'll put everything and anything else that you think other people might benefit from. I think the more we can raise awareness to this, and the more perhaps we can maybe support and help others that have this, I think would be really beneficial. And I think it's
Thank you.
Very brave of you to come on and talk about it. It's not an easy thing to do, so I very much appreciate you taking that time, especially as I know that you've been struggling and you've been in pain as well. So it's very much appreciated.
A pleasure. Thank you. Yeah, bless your heart. Thank you very much.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. So remind me again, what is it called?
Sphincter of oddi dysfunction.
Right, I'm not going to say that. I can't. Right, I've literally forgotten it even. Yeah. I'm going to say S.O.D. Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
All right, my lovely. Well, listen, you take care of yourself, and I hope that it's not too bad for you going forward, and but bless you for having an amazing family, and like I said, coming on.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay. All right, my lovely. Well, you take care. Have a great rest of the week, and lovely. Well, lovely to chat to you. You take care.
Okay.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to pop across to Instagram and Twitter and give me a follow there. As much as I appreciate your comments, please remember to keep them respectful, otherwise you do run the risk of being blocked, and that would be a shame. Thank you for watching.